I am calling to order the November 16th, 2023 meeting of the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners. Noting the presence of all three members, I'm going to ask Deputy Foster to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well done, Deputy Foster. Thank you. As you all know, the general election was held last Tuesday on November 7th. So first, I wanted to congratulate Commissioner Winder on her election to a full term, and also Commissioners-elect Neil McKeeja and Thomas DeBello. And I'm committed to working with all of you on transition as you begin your 4-year terms in 47 days. Not that I'm counting. As always, I want to give a special shout out to all the people who help make our free, fair, and safe elections possible, including our voter services staff, led by our Acting Director of Voter Services, Frank Dean, over 2,600 poll workers, including 248 high school students as part of the poll worker program, ballot counters who processed over 76,000 mail-in ballots, the offices of the District Attorney, Sheriff, Security, Assets and Infrastructure, IT, Solicitor, and the staff from many other departments, all of whom helped us administer a successful election. We can't do this without the hundreds of people who sign up and are committed to making sure we have free, fair, and safe elections each and every time. All the results and updates can be seen on our comprehensive election results dashboard on the Voter Services website at www.montgomerycountypa.gov/voters, and all results are unofficial until certified by the Election Board. And I also want to acknowledge Dory Sawyer, our former Director of Voter Services, who is moving on to a new opportunity with the PA Department of State. Dory's been with the county since 2020 and did a tremendous job. So thank you, Dory, and good luck. Next, I'd like to highlight that November 11th through the 18th is Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week. And in recognition of this week and in response to these issues, the Office of Housing and Community Development and Your Way Home is kicking off their annual point-in-time county donation drive. Donations will be used to help unsheltered individuals found during the pit count on the night of January 23rd. Your Way Home's wish list will be open until Friday, January 12th, 2024. Priority items recommended by our Lived Experience Advisory Board include hand warmers, dry bags to protect belongings from water damage, winter gloves, hats, and socks. So please consider giving a gift this year. Last year's donation drive supported donations for 50 unsheltered individuals, and we hope to increase that this year. The point-in-time count wish list can be found at yourwayhome.org. And thank you in advance for your support. November 21st is Public Health Thank You Day. Public health workers act every day to promote, protect, and preserve the well-being of all the people in Montgomery County and to respond to public health crises. Many times, as we saw, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic, they sacrifice their own health and safety to do so. They also work to strengthen, support, and mobilize communities, enable equitable access to services, and empower individuals to manage their own illnesses and disabilities. Through a combination of efforts over the last century, they have increased the average life expectancy from 47 years in 1900 to 76 years in 2022. So thank you to all of our public health workers throughout the county for your dedication to our health and safety. And November 25th, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, is Small Business Saturday, a time when we celebrate and highlight our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. Montgomery County has the second greatest presence of small businesses in the Commonwealth and supplies tens of thousands of jobs here in the county. Think about your favorite pizza place, boutique, ice cream spot, or the brewery. Many of them, if they were able to remain open, suffered great losses during and in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. So I'm asking all of our residents to continue to help our small businesses by shopping and dining and getting services locally in yours, not only on the Saturday after Thanksgiving, but throughout the holiday season. And now I'm going to go on to our Way to Go winners for this month. The Way to Go Montco program is open to all county employees, encouraging them to nominate their colleagues for going above and beyond. To date, more than 200 county employees have submitted nominations, singing the praises of their coworkers. Each month, we draw employees from the list of nominations, and each wins $150 in recognition of their work. So here are this month's winners. First is Sharon Brodowski, a district court clerk in District Court 38109 in King of Prussia. Her nomination says, Sharon handles tough situations with grace and kindness. She has a smile on her face and is happy and upbeat from the moment she enters work. We are very lucky to have her. Next is Julia Garnia, a principal graphic designer with the Planning Commission. Her nomination reads, when a critical deadline was shifted, Julia worked tirelessly, often for long hours, creating a compelling design and coordinating with others to finish the project a month earlier than anticipated. Next is Billy Keene, an animal worker with parks, trails, and historic sites. At the start of the 4th of July weekend, Bill left his primary site to investigate an obstacle blocking a safety warning sign on the Schuylkill River. Bill was able to remove the obstruction and restore clear sight lines for recreational water users before the busy holiday rush kicked off. Our fourth winner is Frank Spolin. He's an information services manager in human resources. His nomination reads, Frank is always kind, professional, dependable, and his work always exceeds expectations. He takes on challenging projects with grace and always completes the assignments on time, if not ahead of schedule. And last is Terry Wassel, who is a registered dietitian with the Office of Public Health. Terry has worked as the county's only registered dietitian for over 30 years. She uplifts her entire team with her positive and empathetic attitude each day. She is extremely passionate about her work and goes above and beyond for the communities that she serves. So congratulations to all of our Way to Go winners. And I also want to take a moment to congratulate a couple of our award-winning employees. First, Mike Case, our courts administrator. Mike recently received the Community Champion Award from Family Services for his work in establishing and chairing the Criminal Justice Advisory Board. The board was established to examine and address criminal justice issues from a systemic and policy perspective and to make recommendations to public safety agencies and private organizations to efficiently, effectively, and collaboratively deliver criminal justice programming to all Montgomery County communities. Some of Mike's successes have been establishing the Restrictive Intermediate Punishment Program and Grant, implementing drug treatment, behavioral health, veterans treatment courts, and the Targeted Opioid Phase Program. And he also brought recognition to the county for being one of the first to reduce the time that individuals with severe mental illnesses are incarcerated. And many of his other accomplishments have led our prison population remaining at or below 50% capacity for nearly 4 years. Mike has a solid reputation for being able to lead thoughtful and intentional conversations under the most difficult of circumstances while fostering progress. So congratulations to Mike, and thank you for your extraordinary leadership and support for individuals in our courts. And next, Ray Height, who received a 2023 Procurement Award for UNA for Innovation and Digitization. UNA is the parent company of Montgomery County's e-procurement software Bonfire and recognized international awardees during an online program. Ray is the procurement department in-house expert on the use of the Bonfire system. Ray does all the training on the use of systems to internal clients and vendors. And over the years, Ray has striven to discover and utilize the features of this software. So Bonfire has recognized Ray as an international super user of the system, and we congratulate Ray on that. And finally, this is our last meeting before Thanksgiving, so I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. And as we enter the holiday season, no matter what holiday you celebrate, I hope you have time to be grateful and reflect with your family and friends. With that, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Winder.
Thank you. First, let me just say I'm tremendously honored to be able to serve this great county for the next 4 years. I'm grateful to my colleagues for their leadership and the work that they've done to get us to this point. So as we usher in a new chapter and a new leadership, I look forward to working with Neil Makisha and Tom DeBella, who I see in the back of the room, so that we can continue to serve this great county and the residents that live here. First I want to talk about National Adoption Day. I'm sure most of us can agree that a home, a loving family, and a safe place to grow up are some of life's most precious gifts and are critical for the health and wellness of any child. This is why Saturday, November 18th, National Adoption Day is so close to my heart.
National Adoption Day is a collective effort to raise awareness of children waiting to be adopted from foster care. More than 113,000 children in the U.S. foster care system are currently waiting to be adopted, and more than 2,500 of those children are in Pennsylvania. Tomorrow, November 17th, the Orphans Court, led by Judge Lois Murphy, and the Department of Health and Human Services Office of Children and Youth will be co-sponsoring the adoption finalizations of 2 local children from foster care. All are welcome to witness and participate in this special ceremony, which will begin at 1 p.m. in courtroom A. Judge Murphy says this ceremony is one of the most meaningful things that they get to do in court. Of all of the adoptions that the Orphans Court has finalized this year, 43 were children involved in Office of Children and Youth cases. We want to offer our deepest thanks and heartfelt congratulations to all the generous families who have welcomed Montgomery County foster children so wholeheartedly into their homes. We wish you all the best on loving and growing together. I urge anyone who is interested in fostering or adopting a child in need to please call our Office of Children and Youth at 610-278-5800 or visit our website at montgomerycountypa.gov/OCY. The most compassionate staff will help guide you through this process. So I will not be cooking for Thanksgiving, but I will wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving as we usher in a new holiday season. My mother was the cooker in our family, but I want to invite all of you to kick off the holiday season with us in Montgomery County. I can't believe that in only a couple of weeks on December 7th is the first of our winter holidays, Hanukkah, and it will be here before we know it. Nothing gets people in the mood for the holidays more than music and lights. We invite everyone to help us start the holiday season early by coming to Montgomery County's annual holiday lighting ceremony on Thursday, November 30th at 4:30 p.m. on the lawn of the Montgomery Courthouse. We will illuminate the county Christmas tree, the Hanukkah menorah, and the Kwanzaa Menorah for the first time this season. Meet us at the flagpoles on the corner of Swede and Erie Streets to hear beautiful holiday musical selections from the Montgomery County Choir as we share some warm and comforting refreshments. Feel free to take pictures in front of the tree and candles. We hope to see you all there. Thanks. Those are the end of my comments.
That way you looked at me and said you weren't cooking.
Well, because you'll tease me later about me not cooking, so.
Wish you did. You have no comments, okay. Next up, we have our Montgomery County Community College Annual Report. Dr. Pistaki Perez is here. Good to see you. Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure to be here today, and thank you, Chair Lawrence, Vice Chair Winder, and Commissioner Gale for the opportunity to share what Montgomery County Community College has been doing during the past academic year. I have with me today the Chair of our Board of Trustees, Varsovia Fernandez, and Director of Government and External Relations, Mr. Mike Bettinger. I do want to extend Mustang greetings from the entire Montco family, our Board of Trustees, our faculty, staff, students, and administrators, and more than 90,000 alumni that are here in Montgomery County, in Pennsylvania, and throughout the globe. Next slide, please. This year, we were building a brighter future together and working together on a variety of initiatives, including a new strategic plan. We were at the advent of having completed our mission and vision reviews. We had also re-envisioned and evolved our equity statement, as well as our facilities planning. And I have a QR code there, and there are also some cards we'll leave behind that you can actually dig deep into our journey of last academic year as we focused collectively with our students, our employees, and our communities, and rallied around our students and their success. We also elevated our community and engaged them deeper and further in the work that we do at all ages and stages of life. Next slide, please. In summary, in that strategic plan for 23 through 27, We wanted to make sure that we were working collectively across our organization and across our county with our partners to ensure students were learning. Previously, in other iterations of our strategic plan, we were championing that success. Now we're holding ourselves and each other accountable and ensuring that each student is learning through their experiences. We also have committed to enhancing our employee experience through a variety of ways and expanding our community participation and engagement. There has been a lot of evolution of Montgomery County Community College this past year. We're at a point where we're beginning to see our renewed mission, vision, and value statement expanding and evolving into an equity statement that goes beyond just our students, but our expectations of Montco for all. And what does that mean to our college, to our employees, and the communities we serve? We also had our facilities master plan, which dovetails our strategic plan to make sure that our infrastructure, both with our physical plant as well as with our recreation and our properties, meet the needs of today, particularly post-pandemic. We know how much mental health and wellness is a part of our fabric as an institution and how we've elevated that work to make sure students, employees, and our communities are benefiting from that, from our work. We also have a strategic employee workforce plan to make sure that we have the most talented and capable individuals helping to support the institution to advance our mission from recruitment to retirement. And we're getting ready for our accountability from the Middle States Commission on Higher Education for re-accreditation of our institution. So we've begun that discussion, that process, that deep, authentic dive into every process, every entity, and every constituency that we serve. Next slide, please. Let's look at some numbers. We have a total enrollment for our last academic year of more than 14,000 students that we were able to serve. I want to draw your attention that our student body continues to pursue their education part-time at the college. This had begun pre-pandemic where there was an overlap between full-time enrollment and part-time, and we have seen not only the crossover, but the accelerated. Students are very cognizant of their level and ability to pay for their higher education. Many of them are working, taking care of family, children, and others. So part-time studies is really what the majority of our students have. We still are seeing a large number of adult learners, those over 25 and older. We have high representation of students that are Black, Indigenous, or people of color. We have 10% of our students are single parents. Pell recipients represent about 20%, and we continue to see a large number of students who are first-generation college educated, like myself, in the class. Next slide, please. As far as success by the numbers, last academic year we had almost 1,300 graduates, and they are representing even higher first generation, congruent with our enrollment of the students graduating that are people of color. And our class was age ranged 18 through 73. And these are individuals that are getting credentials, one-year certificates, and two-year associate degrees, either to go into the workforce or to transfer a four-year college or university. The student that's 18 years old actually graduated at Montgomery County Community College with their associate degree before they graduated high school that June. So we're very proud of that dual enrollment program and the opportunity that we bring more than 2,000 high school students across Montgomery County the opportunity to earn college credit as well as high school credit using their time, energy, and talents most effectively. The top programs that we had in our graduating class were our liberal studies students. Those students typically move on to a four-year college or university and pursue law degrees, pursue medicine, pursue all different types of career pathways. We also have our business administration, our future business leaders, again, transferring. And certainly the third is our nurses, going out as talented RNs. At Montgomery County Community College, we consistently have the NCLEX, or their national licensure exam, of more than 90% pass rate on first attempts. That is unheard of. It's higher than the national average, and that's comparing to community college students as well as four-year college students, as well as the state average. So we're very proud of our graduates. Next slide, please. So what's the value of Montgomery County Community College to Montgomery County and the taxpayers? Well, in fiscal '22, we added an income of nearly $600 million to this workforce and economic development engine that we co-share. That helps support more than 6,500 jobs, and that's through our alumni, our student, our construction work, and operational spending. We are immensely grateful for the dedicated millage that helps support Montgomery County Community College's operations and capital investments, and it helps to ensure that our graduates have the lowest level of debt possible going into the workforce and their transfer destinations. Next slide, please. We're equally grateful for advancing Montco's tuition assistance funded program that came from the ARPA funding. We were fortunate to benefit from the $1.75 million county pandemic recovery fund. To date, we have 177 students that have been assisted, earmarking $162,000 with the average award of just a little bit more than $900. The requirements for this particular earmark is that you must be a county resident, and we are stretching these dollars to touch as many students as possible. So this funding is last dollar funding. So we have the students complete their federal financial aid applications, their state funding applications, go through our foundation for any scholarships that they may be able to benefit from, and then we use the last dollar to invest in them on behalf of you. We focus solely on high priority occupations, those areas within Montgomery County that link directly to jobs, family sustainable jobs in the area of healthcare, education, public safety, and hospitality. Next slide, please. A few highlights that we were able to launch in last academic year was our Challenger Learning Center at our Pottstown campus. Our Challenging Learning Center was open for about 8 months from the launch, and we were able to serve nearly 4,600 K-12 students and giving them opportunities to be inspired to pursue higher education and career pathways in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We flew more than 184 missions and focused on our Title I schools, those that have the most critical need in our county and in the region. We are the first and only Challenger Learning Center in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We had the opportunity to host the Challenger Headquarters Board of Directors in August, as well as hosted the national conference at Pottstown. We were grateful for the Valley Forge Tourism and Visitors Bureau, who helped us host these high-profile individuals to Montgomery County. I want to brag on our Challenger Learning Center. In the first year of operations, we were ranked number 6 in the number of students that we were able to serve out of 35 centers in the country. So there's a lot going on at all ages and stages of life at Montco. Next slide, please. I mentioned earlier about health and wellness and how that is so critical to our students' success. We knew that pre-pandemic and had strategies and initiatives in place, and during the pandemic we were able to accelerate and even deepen that care that we were providing our students. So it's just not their academic that we look at, but we look at their holistic needs, their essential needs that they need, as well as each one of us, to be able to not only live, but to thrive. We were grateful for the $1 million Community Mental Health Services Block Grant from Montgomery County so that we could develop a holistic wellness center at our Pottstown campus. The funds were marked by the Commonwealth for community colleges to support higher education of individuals experiencing mental health challenges. So we are grateful for your support. Next slide, please. Also in Pottstown, we had the opportunity to have a ribbon cutting on our first floor of the South Hall, the original building, which is more than 25 years old. And we were able to make it more modern, more functional for our students and the communities. In addition to having the Science on the Sphere, which is the lower left, one of only 2 in the region, and it's here in Montgomery County, so we can, again, continue to educate on climate. This is a direct feed from NASA, so we can check and integrate this into our college courses. We can stream the data into K-12 and bring individuals to campus to educate them about various initiatives. We also were able, through a generous gift of the Education Furniture Solutions, to develop an esports pavilion where our students and community members can come in and compete in esports. It's a competitive athletic NJCAA team, and we are proud of bringing that to Pottstown. Also, in this renovation, we made sure that this building was equipped for all. We have shower facilities, laundry facilities for our students that are free of charge, lactation rooms, game rooms. It's all accessible and all inclusive, including gender inclusive restrooms. We are grateful to the Landis family for underwriting the Science on the Sphere in honor of their sons, Paul and John. Next slide, please. I'm equally proud of our continuing advancement on equity, diversity, and inclusion. The college was named a most promising place to work in community colleges. This is the 7th award since the inception of this program in 2015. The college was recognized for our exceptional commitment to student and staff recruitment and retention, inclusive learning and working environments, and meaningful community service and engagement opportunities. Again, advancing belonging for all. Next slide, please. So what's in the future? I want to take a moment to share a video with you. We have a lot going on at Montgomery County Community College. You saw in the video about our Monco Cultural Center, which we had the opportunity to have a ribbon cutting in September, opening up our science building at our Bluebell campus. We have, and you can see in the top left is our new theater with more than 560 seats. And it also coincides with having black box theaters at both campuses, art galleries, and related programming. We also are partnering with the Philadelphia YMCA and opened our Early Learning Center at the Bluebell campus for ages 2 through 5, so our youngest learners in the county can have an enriched educational experience. And finally, in the lower right, we will be opening in 2024 our new Hospitality Institute, which is more than 20,000 square feet, state-of-the-art facility that will have education in culinary arts, pastry and baking, fermentation science, nutrition, among other areas. So we'll have a student-run restaurant as well as bakery, retail shop, and new programming that will be coming on board. Next slide, please. In 2024, we will be celebrating 60 years of Montgomery County Community College, where we began in 1964 in Conshohocken and grew and elevated through our Bluebell campus, online learning, Pottstown campus, and going to various educational sites. So stay tuned for all of the excitement and activity that we will be celebrating with you and your support for Montgomery County Community Colleges. And finally, I do want to share briefly some challenges that we are tackling with solutions. Next slide. We continue to tackle challenges around enrollment decline. However, at Montgomery County Community College, our enrollment is stable, unlike many of higher education in the region and in the nation. We continue to have budget deficits and have our state funding still not being appropriated yet for this fiscal year. And there'll be higher ed redesign, which we are anticipating in 2024, and will be poised and ready because we're part of the conversations. We have various solutions that we've created to continue to tackle these and other challenges through our advocacy, our strong stewardship of fiscal resources, our long-range financial planning, a new portfolio plan, which we'll be unveiling shortly, strategic enrollment plan, and we are undergoing the feasibility study for a foundation capital campaign to help support Montgomery County Community College. Last slide, please. Again, Chair Lawrence, Vice Chair Winder, and Commissioner Gale, I am very grateful for your support throughout the year and making sure that together we inspire, lead, and transform destinies and future generations here in Montgomery County. Thank you very much for the opportunity to address you today, and I'd be happy to answer questions if there are any.
Dr. Pistecki-Perez, thank you for your leadership at the college. Thank you for your report today, Chair Fernandez, and the Board of Trustees as well. You know, one of the things that was tremendous, and it's always tremendous, but one of the things that struck me during my 7 years as commissioner is all the times I come to the college for community events, and I appreciate that as well, whether it's a 5K, whether it's a job fair, community meetings, that you make the college open not only to the students and employees, but to the community as well. So I've appreciated working with you over these years, and I hope that we can stay in touch. But thank you for your, how long's it been now?
I've been at Monco 27 years.
How long have you been president?
I've been president a little over 4 years.
4 years.
Yep.
Yeah, and you can see the energy that you brought to the
Thank you.
campus and gone, so thank you.
Thank you.
Just really appreciate everything that you're doing. Oftentimes, community colleges are, have not the greatest reputation, right? But the investments that your team is making in infrastructure, programming, recruitment, all that goes into running a good and giving students a good college experience, you know, you presented that here today. So look forward to working with you in the days ahead.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'd also like to congratulate you on all the accomplishments throughout the year and the 4 years as president. I think the biggest thing I was impressed by was that 18-year-old that achieved the associate's degree. And wish I did that. That's remarkable, and I'd like to also echo the remarks of Commissioner Lawrence for being a community partner, and the use of your theater and buildings in Pottstown also doing well throughout the years for the community to use has been a great asset, and I wish you success going into the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Oh, yeah. There we go. All right, we will now move on to public comment.
First up is Peggy Delasanti.
Good morning. My name is Peggy Delasanti, a friend of the Erie Street Historic Prison and resident of Montgomery County, prior owner of Main Changes Clothing that used to be on Main Street for over 41 years. First, I would like to congratulate Commissioner Winder on winning the commissioner seat once again this past election. And Godspeed to Commissioner Gale, Commissioner Lawrence, in your future endeavors. I would also like to thank you for putting a pause on the demolition contract, but your work has only just begun. The contract and the Harb appeal need to be withdrawn. Let's not spend the taxpayers' money on this appeal. I and many others are delighted to see that the tree limb has been removed from the tower of the castle-like iconic structure. That tree limb was a cry for help. It represented the gross neglect by the county since 1984. Now is the time to prepare this icon for the open market to attract a visionary who sees the whole picture to create a destination for the town center, a valuable piece on a monopoly board, something like Boardwalk or Park Place on the board. Before anything is disturbed, a complete inventory needs to be done along with photos of its contents by a professional, including the files left in the building. Due to the gross neglect by the county long before you all were here, approximately 40 years, the county needs to get caught up with its duties to protect and maintain this valuable Norristown asset. Remediation and repairs need to be made by the county in preparation for it to be presented to prospective investors/buyers. Besides, there's $4.1 million in the budget to tear it down. Why not use a portion of these monies to clean it up? The Friends of the Erie Street Prison, Historic Prison, will be holding many town hall meetings in the near future and hope that the county commissioners and the borough council will attend this time. I must say Commissioner-elect Tom DeBello attended almost all of the public meetings in support to preserve this icon. The county, borough, and the Friends of the Erie Street Prison need to collaborate on this endeavor to have a successful outcome. The spotlight is on, and we have stirred up public awareness. Social media is a powerful tool. I would suggest that we put our best foot forward and do the right thing for Norristown's town center,
Excuse me,
the
ma'am.
county seat, and the community
Your time is up.
at
Thank you.
hand. Thank you very much. I almost had it timed right. Thank you.
Next is Pearl Flanberg.
Hi, good morning. I'm Pearl Flanberg. I live in Whitpain. I work in Norristown at Calvin area across the parking lot from the prison. Good morning again. Thank you so much for the pause on the demolition of the prison. We appreciate it. We hope it will be long enough to get good community input and for finding funding opportunities. We understand that no county money is to be used for refurbishing. But we hope, as has been pointed out, that the county would accept responsibility for abatement of whatever hazardous materials are in the building. I believe that with the demolition was planned some cleanup, and so I hope that abatement will remain as a county responsibility. Thank you.
Next is Leroy James Waters.
Good evening. Damn, I wasn't going to do that. All the meetings I go to are in the evening. Good morning, commissioners. It's nice to be back. I've been performing here for probably 40 years, and I haven't been back since the Ida flood. So I want to apologize for my energy. That's good, I didn't say a bad word. For my energy last about the prison, because it's a 25-year-old issue with me. And we won't go any farther than that. It wasn't your fault. So if anything, I'm talking to that bench you're sitting behind. What I found was my 2006 Act 1 commission that was supposed to be a taxpayer relief for senior citizens. And with this, I'll be able to prove and explain how the school taxes work. The blighted condition of Norristown, a county seat, raises school taxes for East and West Norton. Most people don't know how the whole thing works. Now, what I have for you today is paperwork to put the old county prison up for sale. And what my intent to do is to quantify what the county seat could have looked like or been using the Jim Thorpe history as the equation, where my position as a retired member of the Communication Workers of America went up and studied the abuse of unions up there in the coal mines. So much for that. The other issue is the blighted properties in Norristown, and I have 2 requests for information. And I also have a law that was passed back in 2011, and it has to do with the Pennsylvania Abandoned and Blighted Property Conservation Act implementation and best management manual that I have, But I've spoken to, let's see, it was the managing attorney with respect to the condition in Norristown. And I got a little bit of coaching from that. But the next step is the filling in of the floodplain. Ida flood was 2.5 feet above the 1972 Agnes flood. And I can explain why. FEMA has allowed filling in of the floodplain. Now, my position of that, I believe, is a complaint to the Attorney General and also Homeland Security, especially when the fact is you got roads flooding, you can't get to the hospital. Now, where's all the stormwater coming from? East Norton, we'll talk about what the master plan could have been in 1992. I'm getting off topic here. The next thing is Pennsylvania American rate increase.
Excuse me, sir. Your time's up.
I think, my memory serves me, we used to have 5 minutes. But this is just another Orwellian way of changing the rules when nobody's looking. Like I said, I got files. I'll be back. Here's your paperwork.
Next up is David McMahon.
Hi, yeah, it's good to be back. I said we'd be back, but we're looking forward to a fresh start on this property. Hopefully, the current application is pulled all together. I'll be encouraging Norristown Council to actually reject it outright, but hopefully we can think of this, the prison building, the site that it's on, the historic components of it versus the later additions, which are the ones in the worst condition. We can think about the parking lot that's adjacent to it and think about this as a total vision that can work well for Norristown and the county, and really capitalize on this very unique place and the opportunities it offers. We'll continue having public forums going forward, getting community input, explaining what possible processes could look like, what it means to put out requests for information and all that, and maybe encourage other people to take part in turning out support or, bringing people forward and ideas forward on the property. That's pretty much it. Looking forward to working with the new team and in the new year. And yeah, good luck with everyone who's moving on, and looking forward to those of you who are coming on board. Thanks.
Next is David Morgan.
Good morning, I'm David Morgan from Ambler. Congratulations on the election cycle, but I do have concerns about equal opportunity in the elections. I go and refer back to the 2022 election where the chair of election board mentioned, of course, we have a hometown candidate in Governor Josh Shapiro, for Governor Josh Shapiro, which I think will spark a lot of interest here in Montgomery County. For the election board chairman, we have to ask, should this be an impartial role? Then going to more recently, in the Ambler Gazette, October 22nd, we have the Shapiro shows support for Dems, but there's no side-by-side. And I think that's, for all the work that people put in to run, there's a picture of the Democratic candidates later in the paper here, but it should be really that it should be side-by-side, and we should have proper coverage. And also the election board chair here is quoted and saying about going to the finish line and having the governor and also our Congresswoman Madeline Dean comment on that. So these are being outside of the county influences, which that's concerning to me for a level playing field in an election.
Mr. Morgan, who's the outside county influence?
Person, well, the governor is for the state. This is taking my time, but
And
the,
we'll stop your time.
Okay, thank you.
He lives in the county of Montgomery, so I'm just wondering who was the outside county
I
influence.
guess my meaning is about levels of government. We have, outside of this county race, we have the Congresswoman,
So
we
you
have the
don't believe
governor.
that people have the constitutional right to express their freedom of speech and endorse candidates if they choose to do so?
Well, with their appearance, you were encouraging them, bringing candidates over that you, to get the exact quote, since the time has stopped,
Yeah.
let's get that quote there in the paper. See if I find it. Sorry, here, let's go to page 3. Okay. Gazette probably has it more clearly, let's see. Let's say, about the governor, he's Montgomery County born and raised here, and I think it's a great re-election, great reflection, too, that he wants to make sure that Jamila and Neil get across the finish line, Lawrence said.
Right.
U.S.
You don't think I have
Representative
the
Madeline
constitutional
Dean
right to say that?
agreed.
You don't think I have the constitutional right to express myself?
I think you have as election board consideration of being impartial.
No, I swore an oath to uphold and maintain the elections, and that's my oath of office, but I'm also a citizen of the United States. So I have the same First Amendment rights that you do.
Going back to the first article.
We can start this time now again. I just wanted to, you've said that a couple times, and I just wanted to get on the record with that. I have a First Amendment right to free speech, just as you do.
I know you do, but the first article, you were as election board chair, that was your role in that first article I mentioned with
No,
the
no, it
governor.
was not.
Well,
It was
that's, I can bring out the paper for that, too.
We're going to start your time, so continue with your remarks. I'm not speaking as the election board chair in either of those instances.
That's incorrect, I believe, because that paper said in the first page of that November 3rd article that you were quoted as the election board. Thursday, November 3rd edition of the Reporter entitled "Court Ruling Doesn't Change County Process." You were quoted in your capacity as election board chairman in the first page. Now, then I'm concerned that the day before the election, in the paper, we had a picture of the McCaffrey race, but there was no picture of our person, our hometown person, Caroline Coluccio, who works in the Norristown judge roles. So why not a side-by-side there as well? This is the day before the election.
You should write to the paper about that.
I've written to the paper 2 letters and they've not been published. One was
But
about
you know
4
we don't
issues.
control the media here.
No, I don't control the media.
No,
But
we
I'm
don't
just saying
control
that
the media.
I'm just advocating for side-by-side, equal opportunity. Because America is, as we talked about the college, people having equal opportunity to attend college, to apply from different racial backgrounds, et cetera. So what I'm concerned also is that after the last meeting, we had this on the door with all the Democrats candidates and all the, already?
Yep. Sorry, sir. Your time's up.
Next up is Doug Seiler.
Morning, everybody. Commissioner Winder, congratulations. Looking forward to your tenure, and hopefully you'll be the chairperson. And I always welcome a woman's voice, as we saw with the president of Montgomery County, how that level of diversity and outlook can be a positive thing. Commissioner Lawrence, good luck in your next endeavors. And Commissioner Gale, I just want to say your service, I want to thank you for it. You came here to make government better, and I think you did a good job at that. So I'd like to talk about the recent press release about postponing the prison. And I'd like to say that Seidel Zoe's recent letter that was sent to you, I'd like to submit a copy to the records. I agree with all her points. I think they were well put. And I would like to just suggest, Commissioner, in future meetings, you consider longer speaking times, 5 minutes perhaps, and that when people write to commissioners that they've given a response, that it was received. It's just nice to get a thank you, your letter was received. You don't have to comment on it, just acknowledge that. I'm also like to submit a copy of the HARB report, which I'll be giving to council next week, unless you all withdraw your application for demo. Before then, I hope you all read the report. It kind of spells out some of the facts that can't be spoken in 3 minutes. But mainly I'm here to talk about what exactly does postpone mean, or more to the point, what do the Friends of the Prison and the HARB feel that it should mean, and hopefully you'll agree with our interpretation. First, I think it means that an HSR, Historic Structures Report, should be done, which is to research the cultural and social history of the jail, take professional photographs, and provide accurate drawings to reflect current conditions. A RFP should be released for such a report ASAP, and if you need help in guiding sort of what that process should be and include, I recommend you reach out to the Preservation Alliance of Greater Philadelphia. I'd like you to consider in the RFI process that you graciously have felt that you're willing to undertake, that you include the preservation community, Norristown neighbors, and the Norristown business community to be part of defining the process, purpose, and scope of the RFI. And I'd suggest you do it through an ad hoc advisory committee, a group of people that you fund to advise what it should be. We recently participated in a project in Lower Makefield Township that was a 20-some year loggerheads, everybody hating and distrusting. You kidding me? All right, that's my point. Thank you very much. I had another minute, but would that really have been a problem? Thank you. Sorry I took time congratulating you. I shouldn't have done that, but thanks anyway. Whoops.
Next is Deb Spence on Zoom.
Hello, can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yes, so congratulations, Commissioner Winder. So excited that someone that looks like my family and so many little girls are excited that, and my niece included, are excited that you are bringing your diversity into leadership in Montgomery County, and how you run in such an abundant way is exciting. Commissioner Lawrence, I apologize to you for not, giving salutations and greetings and warm wishes as you move to the next stage of your career when you were out here in Monco. Because I was fussing about something at the presentation, but wishing you the best. That Montgomery County College presentation was so dope, so nice. Excited about Montgomery County here. The college in Pottstown, they really do have a presence. They collaborate with the school district here in Pottstown. I'm a school board member, and I love it. I love all things Montgomery College. I want to go there. It looks so beautiful. That presentation was really nice. But in regards to the prison, I'm really sorry that a pause was put on it. And I guess pause is great, for everyone to think about it. But when you are a system that has systematically abused Black men, separated Black families, and the result, the ripple of that, decades, if not generations to come, we don't want to walk by something that reminds us how we were abused at a location. There is nothing great or beautiful about a prison that abused Black men, innocent Black men, oftentimes. Who wants to walk by the crime scene or drive by the crime scene or have their tax money pay for the crime scene to be restored? Put yourself in our shoes. You're thinking about it in your mind that, okay, this is a beautiful building, let's restore it. But if your family was abused there, oh, come on, you wouldn't want to walk by a crime scene and have your tax money go to restore it? Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak. Again, congratulations, Commissioner Winder. Congratulations, Commissioner Lawrence. Really excited to see what you will do in the future as a leader in this county. Thank you so much.
That is all for public comment.
Great. We will now move on to approval of the minutes. I'll make a motion to approve the November 2nd, 2023 minutes of the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Winder. Any board comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. Are there any negative votes? Motion passes. Next up, advertisement of the proposed 2024 budget. Dean Tartone, our Chief Financial Officer.
Good morning, Commissioners. Next slide, please. So I'm going to take some time today to walk through the 2024 proposed budget, the operating budget, as well as the capital plan, the 5-year plan. As you know, today is the first day that the 24 budget has been formally released here in this room, and to follow on the county website. It'll be posted up along with the presentation that I'm going to make here. Hard copies of the budget will be available in the Norristown Public Library and in the County Commissioner's Office. To follow this meeting, we have 2 public hearings scheduled on November 30th. There's a morning session at 10:30 a.m. and then an evening session at 6 p.m. That's consistent with what we've done in prior years. And then formal adoption of the 24 budget is scheduled for December 14th. Next slide. So before I get into the numbers, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of our benchmarks and stats around the county. As you know, we are the 3rd largest county in Pennsylvania behind Philadelphia and Allegheny County. Based on current census data, we roughly have a population of about 857,000. Square mileage wise, as you can see on the chart, we're roughly 483 square miles countywide. So that's a population of about 1,773 people per square mile. Next slide, please. So just to talk a little bit about some of the numbers that surround the population, and starting with the population, this is going back to census data, which has changed. Our population is growing annually, but based on that census data, You can see that Montgomery County's population grew by about 7% between 2010 and 2020. Our peer counties, as are shown in the chart, their populations were at least 25% lower than that. Their growth rates during that time period were more in the 5% range. So we have obviously attracted a larger amount of people being so close to the city and some of the key development areas, whether it's on the commercial or residential side here with the county. Next slide, please. So how does that translate to our budget? When you look at the county's per capita real estate tax revenue, and you compare it to the peer counties, we were at least 12% lower than the surrounding peer counties. And this is looking at audited data back to 2021. In recent years, the county's tax burden has consistently been the lowest among the peer counties, and these are some of the stats that show it on this slide. Next slide, please. Turning to the expenditure side, when we compare ourselves to the peer counties, we were the lowest compared to the peer counties when you look at per capita expenditures. This is all operating expenditures not covered by grant reimbursement. So we took the audited numbers, netted out the grant revenue, and then compared ourselves. You can see that Montgomery County is the lowest compared to the peers. Next slide, please. So turning to the proposed 2024 budget, I'm going to start with going through what our forecast is for 23. As you know, we spend the summer months beginning in June with our department heads and their fiscal staff, and going through fine details of their operating budgets. This is a 3-month process that leads up to the development of the proposed budget. In addition to that, we're putting together forecasts with them and refining those as we get up to this point in time. So the numbers that you see in the presentation reflect what our current estimates are, and that's usually based on actuals and then what we think will happen, actuals at some point, and then what we think will happen after that, between now and the end of the year. So as you can see, the 23 budget, it was projecting a budget deficit of about $18 million. We had provided assignment of fund balance that was on the balance sheet at the end of 2020. That was formally approved by the board to cover $5 million of the cost for debt service, and then another $13 million was planned to be covered through unassigned fund balance, which would have been a drawdown. As you can see, based on the forecast, the performance is showing a lot better on the expense side, roughly $11 million better on the revenue side, about $2 million. So right now we're projecting a deficit in the range of $5 million. Some of the prime drivers of it are investment income. With the Feds increasing short-term rates so quickly, our fund balances and normal investment income on operating are generating higher levels than what we would have anticipated when we developed the budget last year. So roughly on a projection basis, we think we're going to be about $3.9 million higher, which is extremely helpful on the revenue side. On the expense side, personnel costs are projected to come in just under $9 million. That's all personnel costs inclusive of benefits and so forth. That's not a great thing. We've been experiencing high levels of vacancy for the last couple of years. As a matter of fact, around this time last year, we had about 350 vacancies. Now we're just roughly over 300. With the recent compensation study that was completed and implemented, that will help us with that vacancy rate. We're hopeful. We're going to continue to monitor that over the next 8 or 12 months to see if we can get that down. But there are some key areas that not just Montgomery County, but other government entities too, are challenged in law enforcement, particularly for us, recruiting deputy sheriffs, correctional officers, adult probation officers. They've all been a challenge for us in the last 12 to 18 months. We were also projecting savings on the debt service side of about $5 million. That's roughly related to our new money bond issue. We had thought that we were going to have to go to market sooner in the year, but as you know, we just closed on the new money bond issue, and that new debt service will hit us 100% in the '24 budget. So on a budget-to-budget basis, forecast versus budget, we were able to save about $5 million. If these numbers hold, and hopefully we can outperform them, but I would say most of them are pretty tight, we would finish with unassigned fund balance of roughly $119 million. That's about 23% of our forecasted revenues, which is slightly higher than the high end of our general fund balance policy. Next slide, please. So turning to the proposed 2024 general fund budget. As you can see, we are projecting a slight, moderate surplus of $200,000 on almost a $600 million budget. The revenues are forecasted about $56 million higher on a budget-to-budget basis, 24 versus 23, or 11%. On the expense side, expenses are up by 7%, roughly $37 million. We do anticipate new real estate tax revenue in the '24 budget. On the expense side, it includes new personnel costs, inflationary operational costs, new debt service. I'll say on the inflationary side, we've obviously experienced some significant increases in the last 12 to 18 months. Just by example, we'll be taking on a new electricity contract in 2024 that's probably going to add roughly $200,000 to $400,000 of new expense to the county's budget. Next slide, please. So how do we balance the budget? This is the budget balancing recommendation. So in the proposal, it includes increasing the county's operating real estate tax millage rate to 4.788 mils from 4.237 mils. That's just the operating millage rate for the county. So the community college dedicated millage rate will remain unchanged, and that was established back in 2017. If approved, that would provide approximately $33.4 million of new net real estate tax revenue to the general fund. And if our expenditures hold as projected, we would finish with an ending fund balance roughly in the range of $119 million. That would meet our unassigned fund balance policy goal range of 18 to 20%. We'd be slightly above that on a projection basis. We're hopeful to outperform the '24 budget, as we always are with any budget. A budget's a budget, and we do normally expect that we would save against the budget in certain areas, but there are some things that come up that are out of our control, that sometimes can go the other way. Next slide, please. So if the budget was adopted as proposed, as you can see, that would be our new revenue base, $568 million. With the expenses projected at the level that I just described, that will leave us with a moderate surplus of $200,000, and then maintain the fund balance at around 21%. As you know, fund balance is extremely important to the county. Moody's is very focused on fund balance when we go for our credit reviews. We have traditionally been lower than Moody's national median for AAA counties. These numbers are significantly lower than that, but we have other strengths in our benchmarks that help us with our AAA credit rating, but I did want to note that. So in recent years, we've always targeted being in this range around the policy, or a little bit above it on an actual basis. Next slide, please. So with this budget and the proposal, the breakdown of our revenues, real estate taxes would make up about 52%. Grant revenues, another 37%. Now, as you know, grant revenues are offset by expenditures that, the grant funds are restricted. Those expenditures have to be used for the grant funds. And then departmental earnings, our transactional commissions and things like that. And the court-related offices is a very smaller part of the budget and doesn't have much growth in it. So overall, it would be $568 million of projected revenue for 2024. Next slide, please. Real estate's important to us, and as you know, we monitor it closely. It makes up half the general fund budget. and we pay particular close attention to real estate assessment growth as the year goes on. At this point, the growth rate's a little bit over 0.5%. When you compare that to last year, it was about 0.66. This is trending along the lines that we had budgeted for 23, and I would expect, I'm hopeful that this trend will continue going into 24. We do know that home sales has slowed significantly. If you compare home sales year to date to this time period last year, we're down by about 27%. Median price is holding up pretty well, but assessment growth is, what generates a small amount of natural growth revenue in our real estate tax revenue. And, at this kind of level, we'll probably realize about 1.5 million of new revenue in the budget just from the growth. That's not much on a budget that's almost $600 million. Next slide, please. So if the millage rate was approved as proposed, this is the impact that it would have on single-family dwellings, and there's a couple examples here. About 45% of our overall single-family dwellings fall into the range of a market value range of about $200,000 to $414,000. On average, those households would pay about $540 per year towards county general fund services. This doesn't include the community college millage. That would be an increase of $62 annually compared to what those households pay today. When you look at all the real estate, all the single-family dwellings, and you take the average of that class of single-family homes, it works out to be about $481,000 of market value. They would pay about $818 per year towards the county general fund services, and that's roughly an increase of, I think it's about $94. Can't see the bottom of that slide. Next slide, please. Yeah. So the chart here is showing what it is for the overall average, and you can see the community college millage is included. That's about $67 a year for the average single-family dwelling, and there's roughly about 258,000 properties in that class. Next slide, please. So turning to the 2024 revenue trends, budget to budget, you can see, where the major drivers are. Real estate taxes is primarily driven by what I just explained to you. That's in the proposal, the millage rate increase, but in addition to that, it does have the assessment growth built into it, which, is probably about $1.5 million of net new revenue. Grant revenues, the next two categories, and then some of the other line items fluctuate. They have expenditure offsets, but we do see higher levels of grant revenue coming through, particularly in recent years, post-pandemic with the state and the feds getting, different sources of funding out, and a lot of that rolls through the state and comes down to us. It's passed through type of revenues. But I will point out a couple things here. As I said, investment income, is up on a forecasted basis. We have it budgeted at a higher level for 24, anticipating that the interest rates that we're earning right now, which roughly is in the 5.5% range, will hold through most of the year. But we did base it on what is happening now and the cash flows and balances that we have in place. Another area on the chart that has been growing from quarter to quarter is gaming revenue. We get an allocation, for any of the locations throughout the county, primarily the casino, but other locations too. And we've seen with online gaming, there's been an uptick in the gaming revenue over the last several years. But in addition to that, departmental fees and commissions, we're starting to get back to what our pre-pandemic levels were with those transactional type of fees that go through, the offices such as the recorder of deeds, the clerk of courts, the prothonotary, the register of wills, which is a good sign. We've been, in the last 2 years, we've been challenged by that. Next slide, please. So turning to the expense side, roughly $568 million of total expenses projected for 24. As you can see, Health and Human Services is at roughly 39%. is a large piece of our overall budget. There's obvious grant funding that is associated with a lot of those operations or those offices. But I will point out, when you look at our debt service at 11.6%, and this has been noted in our recent credit reviews by Moody's, this is on the lower side as in terms of comparing ourselves to other AAAs and government entities of our class. Next slide, please. Again, on the expense side, some of the major expenditure trends, budget to budget, personnel costs up by $25.7 million. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Provider services is that offset on the grant revenue side that I was talking about. Debt service on a budget to budget basis is roughly up by about $2 million. Most of that is, all of that's related to the new money bond issue that we completed earlier this year. Next slide, please. So what's in the 24 budget? We are projecting $25.7 million of new personnel costs overall. That includes full staffing levels in 23 to address current service levels. That also has vacant positions included in it. One of the things that is embedded in our budget is a negative appropriation, and that's to account for transition in positions, savings, that result in the delay of filling positions. And roughly that's in the budget at around $8 million. That is a negative appropriation that we're expected to save against the budget. And so we do have to manage our budget well in terms of, because a lot of that savings does come from personnel. But we are budgeted at full service levels. Also included in it is $27.4 million of annual funding for the county pension plan. That's 100% of our required projected contribution for 2024 that has been provided by our actuary. Our employee health care costs, which in total are roughly over $30 million, have been very stable in past years. Between 19 and 21, we've implemented many cost containment initiatives throughout the medical and prescription plans that have helped achieve savings. However, in recent years, 22 and 23, we've experienced inflationary cost increases, and there's higher demand for medical services post-pandemic. A lot of that stuff was delayed by people, and now they're getting back to it. But I would say a good chunk of it is driven by inflationary. That's happening not only in the public sector, but the private sector as well. So there's about $1.9 million of new expense that is included in the 24 budget. Next slide, please. So the bigger part of our personnel costs obviously are our base wages. So for non-contractual base wages, we have included a 4% base wage increase for all non-contractual employees. That's consistent with what is going on right now with inflation, and that was the same percentage that was provided this year and included in the 23 budget. In addition to that, we have 5 union groups. So 4 of those groups are under contract, and the contractual base wage increases are included in the numbers. All 4 of them, just as we did, and I'm going to speak about this in a few minutes, just as we addressed our non-contractual with the compensation study to get our employees up to market and close to our peer groups. We did the same with the contractual, except through negotiations, so they are all set. Those particular union groups have wages that are set and competitive with the market at the moment. Next slide, please. So, as I said, the compensation study that was completed in 2017 was updated this year and implemented in October. And so we had planned for implementation of that this year and had budgeted funding to cover those adjustments. This year, or this budget in 2024, we'll get the full impact of the adjustments that were made as a result of the comp study. Again, the comp study was completed. It has our positions now more comparable with the market and the peer groups as it stands today. I talked about the labor agreements that have been recently negotiated. They primarily affect deputy sheriffs, adult probation officers, juvenile probation officers, domestic relations support conciliators, court-related admin staff, which is a fairly large group, and then our counselors out at the youth shelter. Next slide, please. There's about 1.7 million of additional expense in voter services. This is a timing thing, right? Whenever we have a presidential election, costs are much higher than they are with the other elections. So for all the things that go with managing an election, it's consistent with budgets that we've had in the past on presidential election years. So right now we have about 1.7 million across the board for various things in that department. So the county contribution to the employee retirement fund, I did mention, was at 27.4 million. That is an increase versus the 23 amount, which is 23.9. And this is all based on projections by our actuary. What happens is the actuary will put a projection together now based on the assets of the investments and some of the other assumptions, and then in the new year, a new actuarial study will be completed as of January 1st of 2024. That will truly reflect what we'll have to contribute, but we always get an early estimate. In the last 2 years, the estimate has been a little bit higher than what we had to contribute, so we'll know more about this as we get into the new year and that study gets underway. With the contribution at this level, this would be the 4th consecutive year that the county contribution is at 100% of the required annual pension contribution. It meets the board's multi-year budget goal to continue increasing the annual pension contributions at 100%, which was set back in 2020 and started in 2021. So we've been at 100%, and that has been extremely important to the plan. It accounts and addresses the county's long-term pension obligation for our current employees and retirees. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, we completed a new money bond issue earlier this year to fund the capital improvement plan for the remainder of this year and then next year. I don't anticipate at this time that we're going to need a new money bond issue in '24 based on our cash flow, but we'll evaluate that as we get deeper into the year next year. That provided, so there were 2 series, the GO bond issue Series A, which provided $141 million of funding for the capital projects. That's been received and is being utilized now towards capital expense. It added about $6.5 million of new general fund annual debt service in '24, and that will continue over the life of the bonds. These bonds are 20-year bonds. We had a Series B, too, that provided $14.2 million of funding. That's specifically used for the road and bridge capital projects, and that debt service is paid by the motor vehicle registration fee, and out of that fund, 100% of it. This bond issue added about $1.1 million of new debt service to the MVR fund. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to review quickly some of the cost containment that the county, cost containment and cost avoidance that the county's realized over the last few years anyhow. Back to 2022, we've eliminated 49 vacant full-time positions, which has resulted in roughly $3.3 million of savings. Our electricity costs, we had benefited from a very favorable contract, 3-year contract that will expire at the end of this year, but that produced cost savings or avoidance of about $2.2 million. We will incur, as I mentioned earlier, higher costs with our new contract for '24, but that's just the general market right now. We've been able to save with our subsidy to the 911 fund over the last few years, so that's been about $4.1 million of savings on a budget basis to the general fund. That's primarily been, because the performance of the 911 fund, has been a little bit less on the expense side. They obviously have the same type of issue that I was talking about, vacant positions, challenge there, and that's produced savings amongst other things that go on in the fund. But that fund's primarily funded by the state 911 fee that we receive. Debt service costs, as I mentioned, that's up by, roughly about, or I'm sorry, debt service cost savings from the past. These are primarily from bond refinancings that we've done in recent years, and that has provided roughly about $2 million of budgetary savings, and that will continue in '25. These were restructurings that we did all the way back to 2018. Also, we're implementing a lot of new software across the organization, and this has occurred, in recent years, and that's helped our organization achieve better efficiency in operations. We try to reallocate resources that, are a result of the, better efficiency. So I just wanted to note that. Next slide, please. As you know, in 2018, that Moody's upgraded the county's credit rating to a AAA from a AA. We've done several bond issues over that time period that obviously, are producing cost savings because we would have borrowed at a higher rate at a AA. So we are one of only 127 counties nationwide with this prestigious designation from Moody's. It's been extremely helpful for us to save money for the taxpayers. It's estimated that, it'll save millions in debt service costs over the life of those bonds that have already been issued. As I said, they're 20-year bonds. Next slide, please. So turning quickly to the ARPA fund, we have a formal plan that has been rolled out and is currently underway. It, obviously hits all the key program areas. The detailed report is published out in the Recovery Office's website, but we continue to spend based on that plan. And the way that this particular fund works on a budget basis is we received all the ARPA funding, cash in hand, so we have that, but the actual grant revenue is realized as the expenses incurred. So those programs have been rolling out, and that's been extremely successful up to this point. Next slide. These are just really descriptions of the ARPA program areas for those that may not have seen this presentation before. Next slide. Next slide. So I'm going to turn now to the county's 5-year capital improvement program. As you know, the board formally adopts a budget for 1 year, so you'll be adopting the '24 budget. However, we update the 5-year plan with the proposed budget, and that is presented to the board for approval. So many of the projects that are contained in this 5-year plan are ongoing projects. There are not many new ones. They are designated or noted in the budget document itself if it's a new report. So they're ongoing. The numbers have been updated. As I said, a budget's a budget. When we put these numbers together, depending on the timing of the project, and when everything rolls out, it can get delayed, and we might not spend exactly what we're budgeting, and then the numbers shift from 1 year to the next as we develop the new budget. But this is based on current projections by the project managers. Next slide, please. As you can see, we're projecting roughly $208 million of expense in 2024. We do have fund balance that we're projecting. That's from the new money bond issue that we just completed. So based on our forecast, we roughly have about $114 million at the beginning of the year that'll be used towards expenses. I think that we'll probably be able to get through the year without a new money bond issue, as I mentioned, but the way that the budget's showing, we may need about $40 million to close the gap on these expenses if we actually spend, in this way. Traditionally, we don't spend at the pace that we budget. As I said, projects get delayed, weather impacts it, the timing of bids and things like that can delay it. So I think that, based on this plan, we'll probably be in pretty good shape with the cash balances that we have right now. I will note the motor vehicle registration bond proceeds, that is what I talked about earlier. That's the bond issue, that Series B that was $14 million. That's all supported by the motor vehicle registration fee in terms of debt service, and we dedicate 100% of that funding towards roads and bridge projects, which has been has been an asset since it was implemented by the board back in 2017. Many of our bridges that were offline are now back online and have been renovated or refurbished. Next slide, please. So this is the 24 capital budget by major functional area. You can see that the county campus plan, where the Justice Center project lives under that category or functional area, and asset and infrastructure, which makes up all those road and bridge projects, parks, some of our other facility improvements, encompasses, roughly half of what the projected budget is. In the Planning Commission section, we have all of our trail type of projects, and some of the other major transportation projects live there too. A lot of these projects are offset by federal grant funding. Sometimes it's a higher percentage, or it could be lower, and the county has to have a match, but that's all embedded into this proposal. Next slide, please. So this is the actual 5-year plan, which by functional area, roughly $800 million in projected spending when you look at the total 5-year plan. Next slide, please. This is the 24 projected revenue by source. It doesn't include the fund balance, but as I was mentioning, you can see federal grants, state grants, they're all associated with some of those projects that we just talked about. And then the MVR is 100% supporting the road and bridge projects. Next slide, please. So that's my presentation. I just wanted to conclude by saying thank you to acknowledging the whole senior management team, the department heads, the fiscal staff throughout the county, my finance staff that had done a tremendous job helping us in getting this together, and most of this information is available at the end of this meeting, whether it be by the county website or hard copy.
All right, I will get a motion on the table. I move that the proposed budget for Montgomery County fiscal year 2024 shall be posted to the county's website, and a printed copy shall be available for inspection and review by the public. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Winder. We'll move on to board comment. So Dean, thank you. I know a lot of work goes into this, even as we get up to today, but throughout the year as well. So thank you to your team. Thank you to our senior leadership team, our row officers, our department heads who've worked hard on this. The budgets reflect priorities, and putting your money where your mouth is isn't just an adage, it's a clear indicator of what we believe are our most pressing matters as a county. This budget demonstrates that the people of Montgomery County are most important. Those who live, work, and visit the county are our top priorities. The services and programs we offer would not be possible without the 2,800 plus workforce who remain committed to serving the public. This is despite an ongoing hiring struggle which many organizations have felt over the past few years. Currently, about 11% of our positions are vacant. That means more than just an empty desk. It means that our current employees have to fill the gaps, work harder or longer hours in order to meet the demands of the county residents, and they do it each and every day, and I thank them for it. And our employees are working more to serve more residents than ever before because Montgomery County is one of the fastest growing counties in the region. Our population has grown by 7.1% between 2010 and 2020. We have 25% more people than Chester, Bucks, and Delaware counties. This budget proposal includes specific steps to take care of our greatest resource, our employees. 45% of our budget is investments in our personnel. We're adding $25.7 million to the 2024 budget proposal to address pay equity and to ensure that we're offering market competitive compensation. And we're actively working to fill vacancies that strain our existing workforce. And we're going to continue to fund the county's pension plan at 100% of our annual contribution. Prior to 2013, the county's pension plan went unfunded for 5 consecutive years. Since then, we've been dedicated to funding the plan at 100% because our employees deserve their hard-earned benefits. In 2013, we began with a $3.3 million contribution. We've been increasing it annually in order to achieve the 100% funding goal set by the board to ensure retirement benefits are secure for our retirees and active employees. So today I'm proud to say that we've gone from contributing $0 towards the employee pension fund in 2012 to $27.4 million for 2024. These financial decisions show our dedication to fairly and appropriately compensating the people who serve this community, while also ensuring that the programs and services we're providing are high quality for our residents. Supporting our employees past, present, and future means that our residents will receive better services. Another priority I want to highlight from this budget is our investment in infrastructure. While infrastructure is often thought about as just bridges and roads, it's about people too. Infrastructure has to be reliable and effective so that all of our residents, workers, business owners, and visitors can move around the county efficiently. Better infrastructure improves the quality of life, reduces transportation costs, and makes the region more attractive for investment and economic growth. We've been committed to rehabbing and maintaining our 131 county-owned bridges. In 2012, 62 of those bridges were structurally deficient. We made steady progress on this goal with the help of the $5 vehicle registration fee and rehabbed well over 30 bridges. And we're on track to remove the backlog by the end of this decade. This makes a tremendous impact on the 700,000 vehicles that use county-owned bridges and 300,000 vehicles that use the 75 miles of county-owned roads each year. This $30.6 million investment in 2024 isn't just to fix our roads and bridges, we're also upgrading them. By adding lanes, improving safety, and making it easier to get around on foot and by bus, these projects lessen congestion, improve safety, improve stormwater management, provide safe areas for pedestrians, and help keep the adjacent communities economically competitive. These are necessary investments to the way our county functions. And just like any other organization or household, we're all experiencing the impacts of inflation and rising prices. So many of us have seen higher energy bills over the last year. Trips to the grocery store cost more than they used to. The county is not immune to these challenges and trends either. So this budget accounts for the increasing costs of everyday goods and services. But we're doing it in a way that is fiscally responsible. Our prudent spending control has allowed us to maintain our AAA credit rating from Moody's, a rating which only 127 counties have achieved, or 4% of counties around the country. And this is a rating that I'm proud to say that we recently received for the 6th year in a row. So we remain committed to maintaining our high-quality service to our constituents by finding operational efficiencies and managing the workloads without compromising quality. I appreciate the efforts of everyone in the county who contributes to that goal. As Mr. Gartone mentioned, we'll be holding budget hearings later this month to hear from the public. All are welcome to join us in person or on Zoom on Thursday, November 30th at 10:30 a.m. or 6 p.m. to share your thoughts and opinions. And you'll actually get 5 minutes for that. I intend to vote in favor of advertising this proposed budget, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Winder.
Great, thank you, Ken. I want to echo my thanks to you, Dean, and all county employees who played a critical role in advising our budgeting process. I know it's a collaborative effort driven by folks with real experience of the work that's being done around the county and by the needs of our constituents. I want to focus my comments on the services that the county offers and how we're offering those services efficiently and cost effectively. We're a large county, as everyone knows, but when we compared the services being delivered here and in neighboring counties, we found that Montgomery County not only has a higher per capita service demands, but we are also performing these high-quality services with lower funding and staffing levels than our neighbors. We're being efficient and cost-effective with our spending, given that our per capita discretionary spending is among the lowest in the region at $355 per capita, and yet we're doing more. Our emergency telecommunications team is answering more 911 calls per person. Our courthouse is handling more criminal and civil cases per person. Our orphans court and family court are handling more caseloads per person. Our Department of Health and Human Services serves an average of 57,000 individuals each year compared to the surrounding region. Montgomery County serves the highest number of individuals per person for the lowest cost. These are just some of the ways that our county employees are serving our constituents. And remember, we're doing all of this with less because we have so many open positions right now. So thank you to our dedicated employees who are serving this great county. I also want to highlight a major impact on our budget allocations, which came from the strategic reduction of our prison population. Over the last 5 years, we've been able to safely reduce our prison population by 56.2%, done in part by reforming the county's bail and probation systems. We're focused on supporting people and ensuring that nonviolent criminal offenders get the support that they need to re-enter society as contributing citizens. So by safely reducing our prison population, we've been able to reallocate expenses to keep people out of jail instead of keeping them in jail. With the creation of Supervision Services Office in 2020, we reallocated our budget to maximize court appearances and public safety while minimizing unnecessary pretrial detention for eligible defendants and disparate treatment based on whether or not the accused can afford to pay bail. This has had real impacts on our budget because instead of spending more money on keeping people clothed and fed behind bars, we're using the money to reduce recidivism, to educate and support instead of re-incarcerate. We're doing that so a nonviolent offender can navigate life after prison, become a productive member of our society, and lower our corrections costs without sacrificing public safety. I also appreciate what it means to bear an increase in taxes during difficult financial times. It is unfortunate that rising costs for our residents also mean rising costs for the county, and that we must increase our revenue to meet our obligations. I can assure you that we are dedicated to increasing all revenue sources, including seeking additional grant funding where possible and provide possible tax relief where we can. I want to ensure all eligible residents are aware of our real estate tax deferral program if you are challenged by this proposed tax increase, which equates to roughly $1.50 a week to reach out and get more information. Thank you, Dean, again, and that concludes my comments.
I'd like to mention that I'm not shocked that this budget reflects a property tax increase. I believe it's the 4th year in a row where there's been a property tax increase, and during my 8 years serving on the board, I believe there's been 6 property tax increases. And the reason why you see a long history of higher property taxes is there's higher spending and higher borrowing. And there's no other way around it. If you increase spending, you increase borrowing, you have to increase revenue. And that's in the way of increasing property taxes. And when you add everything up, I know many constituents across the county are struggling because school districts very often increase taxes, municipalities increase their property taxes, the county obviously has increased their property taxes, you have income taxes, you have tolls, you have fees, on top of that you have inflation, and it's a struggle for many. So I believe government has an obligation to, as much as possible, decrease spending, decrease borrowing, and ideally decrease taxes. But I understand that's a very difficult system to operate in because you have to make tough decisions, and that means spending cuts. And during my term on the board, I've never seen a proposal that offered that. I never saw across-the-board departmental decreases. I never saw a spending freeze. It's always been higher spending, higher borrowing, and higher taxes. And throughout the years, including prior administrations, I've seen cases where the county has done made other decisions to fill budget gaps, dating back to when they sold the Health and Human Services Center and entered into a sales leaseback agreement. The concept of that would create an influx of cash. But if you increase borrowing and spending compared to the prior year, you'll still have to increase property taxes. Saw the same thing when they sold Park House, the senior facility. Increased borrowing and spending that compared to that prior year, you have to increase taxes. You hear it from the state with the gaming revenue. If we implement the state game revenue tax, it'll help the counties and it'll put them on strong financial footing. This pattern continues. If we increase the personnel salaries of county employees, that'll put us on a good standing for the following year. We won't have to raise salaries and we'll get through it. But year after year, you still see tax increases. I hear if we do this tax increase, we'll have a full pension payment. We'll have a healthy fund balance. We'll be, again, on strong financial footing. Yet there's that tax increase. And it's presented in a way that it's only $62 for the average household. But again, if you figure that $62 with every other tax fee that's put on the general public, it's a burden. And I believe the biggest driving factor into the reason why we're seeing this pattern of tax increases is the price of the Justice Center construction project. Next year, that's reflected to be 20% of the capital budget. Previous years, it's been more than 20%. I expect in future years, it'll probably be more than 20%. But that's a tremendous expense, nearly $500 million, and there's no way to spend at that level unless you increase taxes because it requires more borrowing and obviously is a bigger expense. So throughout the years as commissioner, I've opposed every contract associated to the construction of the Justice Center. In fact, the agenda was even changed to have its own category of large capital contract awards because I was a routine no vote. And I would have liked to have seen the existing courthouse been renovated first before we started a tremendous expense building a new Justice Center adjacent to it. But these are just some common sense approaches that I think would have been beneficial to the county. Unfortunately, that wasn't taken under consideration. And on top of other items throughout the years that I've identified as wasteful spending over and over again, I'm not surprised that there's another tax increase. So to those members of the public that are struggling, I've done my best to be a voice of common sense and fiscal responsibility. I understand your struggles, and I fortunately don't see this pattern changing. I think looking into the future, wouldn't be shocked if for the next 5 years you saw a property tax increase year after year. So for all these reasons, I'll require a roll call vote.
Ms. Washington?
Chair Lawrence?
Aye.
Vice Chair
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion passes 2-1. Thank you, Mr. Cartone. We will move on to resolutions now. Mr. France, an amendment to the Schuylkill River Passenger Rail Authority Articles of Incorporation.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. Today I have essentially a quick housekeeping item with the Schuylkill River Passenger Rail Authority. That authority was incorporated in June of 2022, and we're coming here today with an amendment to the Articles of Incorporation. And just for background, that authority did meet on October 23rd and passed a resolution to make the amendments that you see today. As required by the Municipal Authorities Act, each of the partner counties, which include Montgomery, Chester, and Berks counties, are required to also pass a resolution authorizing these amendments before they can be filed. And that's what we're here today. If you can go one slide, I only have one slide, but you'll see the amendments or the portion of the articles that are being amended. And I'll just quickly recap. On the first section is the purpose. And really the primary need to make an update here is just to look towards the future. I think in the original articles, we had referenced the 3 counties as being the area where we would seek to restore passenger rail in the anchor communities of Reading, Pottstown, and Phoenixville. But it did not reference counties beyond there. Obviously, that corridor would extend into Philadelphia. So now the new language acknowledges counties outside the 3 as well as even outside the state if necessary, as we also hope to tie it into the northeast corridor of Amtrak's system in the future. So again, this is just kind of recalibrating and setting the stage for what the actual service entails. And then the second paragraph was expanded. This is again just technical details on the members of the authority and details what the Municipal Authorities Act requires in terms of terms of 5 years, but also sets up the schedule so that we can calibrate those towards a consistent January reappointment, as each of those terms are staggered. So those are the amendments before you today, and I believe the other two counties have already passed these, and so after this, we'll take it to our authority's executive director for filing, hopefully by the end of November.
Thank you, Mr. France. I'll make a motion that the proper county officials, in accordance with the authority conferred by law, subject to the approval of the county solicitor, hereby amend the Articles of Incorporation of the Schuylkill River Passenger Rail Authority to amend the purposes for which the authority was incorporated and to set the term of each board member to be 5 years. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Winder. Any board comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. Are there any negative votes? Motion passes. Mr. Hartman, amendment to an open space grant award to the Heritage Conservancy.
Great. Good morning, Commissioners. I'll have 3 items for you this morning, the first being the Barber property. The Planning Commission is seeking a new resolution to supersede Montgomery County Resolution 23-C.116 adopted on March 16, 2023, which authorized a county open space grant to the Heritage Conservancy, a land trust based in Doylestown, for the purchase of a conservation easement on the Barber property located in Lower Frederick Township. As a reminder, the Barber property consists of 3 parcels totaling 77.15 acres with nearly 500 feet of frontage on the Perkiomen Creek. And I would just direct your attention to the slide on the screen, the star representing where the Barber property is within the county. Next slide, please. And then zooming in, you can see on the left-hand slide in the upper left-hand corner, that purple area with the arrow pointing to it is the 70 plus acres of the Barber property. And then on the right-hand side is a zoomed-in view of the Barber property. That 62.35 acres is the area that we're talking about being preserved with a conservation easement. Following the sale of approximately 15 acres to their son, the 62 acres that I just described to you of the Barbers' total property will remain under the ownership of the Barbers and will be preserved via the conservation easement acquisition. At the time of your authorization of an open space grant to the Heritage Conservancy last March, Heritage was seeking project funding from 3 sources, namely the Pennsylvania DCNR, Lower Frederick Township, and the county. And while Heritage Conservancy did receive the requested funding from the county in Lower Frederick, it recently learned that its C2P2 application grant request to DCNR was unsuccessful. Therefore, Heritage is shifting gears and now applying for funding from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service administered Highlands Conservation Act grant program to cover the existing funding gap and as the match to the county open space funds. Funds awarded via the Highlands Conservation Act grant program are directed to specific lead agencies, with DCNR as the designated agency for Pennsylvania-based projects. DCNR may then subaward grant funds to municipalities, and in this case, if awarded, the grant funds would be subawarded to Lower Frederick Township, which would then hold the conservation easement following its purchase. Therefore, the resolution has been revised to indicate that the authorization and allocation of the county open space funds is contingent upon DCNR receiving the Highlands Conservation Grant Program funds, followed by its subsequent subaward of those funds to Lower Frederick Township. In addition, the resolution states that the county open space funds will be awarded to Lower Frederick Township instead of the Heritage Conservancy. And lastly, at its October 25th meeting, the County Open Space Board did vote 4-0 to recommend to the board this revision to Resolution 23-C.116, as I just described. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hartman. I will make a motion that the proper county officials, in accordance with the authority conferred by law, subject to the approval of the county solicitor, hereby authorize an open space grant of $221,660 to Lower Frederick Township for the purchase of a conservation easement on the Barber property. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Winder. Any board comment or questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. Are there any negative votes? Motion passes.
Great, thank you. Next project relates to the Cross County Trail East. The Planning Commission is seeking your authorization for Montgomery County to request a statewide local share account grant of $1 million from the Commonwealth Financing Authority to be used for construction of Section C of the Cross County Trail located in Upper Moreland Township and Bryn Athyn Borough. In addition, we are seeking the designation of 2 county officials to execute all documents and agreements between Montgomery County and the Commonwealth Financing Authority to facilitate and assist in obtaining the requested grant. In July 2022, the county completed the Cross County Trail East Advanced Feasibility Study for the approximately 5-mile segment of the Cross County Trail extending from the intersection of Dreshertown and Welsh Roads in Upper Moreland to where the Cross County Trail will ultimately connect with the existing Pennypack Trail in Bryn Athyn. The feasibility study broke this proposed 5-mile trail segment into 3 portions, known as sections A, B, and C, with the 1.77-mile-long section C representing the easternmost extent that will connect the Willow Grove YMCA to the Pennypack Trail. Again, directing your attention to the slide on the screen, you can see in the upper right-hand corner that that top oval represents section C of the Cross County Trail East. Just below that and to the left are sections A and B, but the focus of this grant application is that 1 3/4 mile segment of section C. Next slide, please. And then zooming in on sections A, B, and C, I've got a green rectangle around what represents section C. That's the area extending from the left where the Willow Grove YMCA is all the way over to the right where you see it tying into the Pennypack Trail that runs north to south on the slide. The Planning Commission is currently working with design consultant The Cross County Trail East Advanced Feasibility Study estimated a construction cost of $2.75 million for Section C. Adjusted for inflation to fiscal year 26, the year construction is anticipated to commence. The estimated construction cost for Section C is approximately $3.125 million. We're in the process of obtaining an updated estimate as part of the LSA application process. An LSA grant award of $1 million would greatly assist with construction costs by reducing the amount of county capital funds allocated to this project. We will also be seeking other grant funds to offset the cost of construction, and no match is required.
I'll make a motion that the proper county officials, in accordance with the authority conferred by law, subject to the approval of the county solicitor, hereby request a statewide local share account grant of $1 million from the Commonwealth Financing Authority to be used for construction of Section C of the Cross County Trail. Be it further resolved that Montgomery County does hereby designate Kenneth E. Lawrence Jr. Chair and Jamila H. Winder, Vice Chair of the Board of Commissioners, as the officials to execute all documents and agreements between Montgomery County and the Commonwealth Financing Authority to facilitate and assist in obtaining the requested grant. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Winder. Any board comment or questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. Are there any negative votes? Motion passes.
Great, thank you. Lastly is another LSA grant application. There you go. The Planning Commission is seeking authorization from Montgomery County to request a statewide local share account grant of $600,000 from the Commonwealth Financing Authority to be used for the construction of the future improvements to the Hawes Avenue and Chain Street trailheads along the Schuylkill River Trail in Norristown. In addition, we are seeking the designation of 2 county officials to execute all documents and agreements between Montgomery County and the CFA to facilitate and assist in obtaining the requested grant. The slide on the screen shows running left to right, that's the Schuylkill River Trail, the orange-yellow line. In the middle there, that large yellow rectangle represents where the transportation center is located, and the Trail Junction Center is on the right-hand side of that yellow rectangle. And then as you move west or left on the slide, inside the red circle, those are the 2 trailheads at Hawes Avenue on the far left and Chain Street to the right of that, where they tie into the Schuylkill River Trail. Next slide, please. This is a view looking up from Hawes Avenue toward the Schuylkill River Trail. You can see a kiosk at the end there. That's where the Hawes Avenue Trailhead ties into the SRT, and this is the area that would be improved as part of that project. Next slide, please. And then jumping over to Chain Street, that's the Schuylkill River Trail on the right-hand side of the slide as you're progressing, looking east on the SRT. Chain Street, the trailhead here would encompass that area that you see on the left-hand side of the fence and improve that so that there was better access and awareness of the Schuylkill River Trail for that neighborhood and other residents of Norristown. The Planning Commission is currently working with NV5, a design consultant, to prepare design drawings and construction documents for the trailhead improvements. Montgomery County did receive a $90,000 regional trail program grant from DVRPC to assist with the expense of hiring NV5 for this project, and they will be preparing final construction documents and the related bid package. These trailhead improvements were identified and conceptually developed as recommendations in the county's Trail Access Diversity and Awareness Plan that was adopted in 2020. This plan was completed to better understand the challenges hindering the equitable use of the county's trails and develop recommendations to address these challenges. These trailhead improvements will be one step toward implementing the recommendations outlined in the study. Trailhead improvements at these two locations will create a safer and more attractive environment for nearby residents by creating barrier-free access to the SRT for users of all abilities and inviting and welcoming entry onto the trail and an increased sense of community safety and well-being for residents in the southwestern neighborhoods of Norristown. An LSA grant award of $600,000 would cover a significant portion of the anticipated construction costs. We are in the process of obtaining updated construction cost estimates as part of the LSA application process. The LSA funds would significantly reduce the amount of county capital funds allocated to this project. We will also be seeking other grant funds to offset the cost of construction, and like the other application, there is no match required by the county.
I'll make a motion that the proper county officials, in accordance with the authority conferred by law, subject to the approval of the county solicitor, hereby request a statewide local share account grant of $600,000 from the Commonwealth Financing Authority to be used for construction of the future improvements at the Hawes Avenue and Chain Street trailheads along the Schuylkill River Trail in Norristown. Be it further resolved that Montgomery County does hereby designate Kenneth E. Lawrence Jr., Chair, and Jamila H. Winder, Vice Chair of the Board of Commissioners, as the officials to execute all documents and agreements between Montgomery County and the Commonwealth Financing Authority to facilitate and assist in obtaining the requested grant. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Winder. I just want to say this project and the previous one are very exciting, but this one in particular, I know that area of the trail well. So this is long overdue, so thank you for your work on this, and it's good to see the progress continue from our equity study of the trails as well. So looking forward to the completion of this. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. Are there any negative votes? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Hartman. Next, we have appointments to the Montgomery County Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Early Intervention Board. I'll make a motion to appoint Julie Burke and Lisa Otero to the Montgomery County Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Early Intervention Board to serve terms that begin immediately and expire on November 16th, 2026, and to serve at the pleasure of the County Commissioners and in accordance with the current duly adopted bylaws. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Winder. Any board comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. Are there any negative votes? Motion passes. Ms. Brown, our Assistant Director of Human Resources, will present the personnel list.
I guess I should say good afternoon, Commissioners. You should have in front of you the final copy of the Commissioners Department personnel list. It's a 4-page document dated Wednesday, November 15th, 2023, with a timestamp of 2:11 p.m. All positions have been reviewed and accounted for and are presented for consideration.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve the November 16th, 2023 personnel presentation as given by Assistant Director of Human Resources, Megan Brown, and to authorize the proper county officials to execute the same. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Winder. Any board comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. Are there any negative votes? Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Brown. Next, we'll move on to advertisements of bids, RFIs, and RFPs, Exhibit A. I'll make a motion to approve the advertisements of bids, RFIs, and RFPs for Montgomery County on attached Exhibit A, and to authorize the proper county officials to execute the same, subject to the approval of the county solicitor. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Winder. Is there any board comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. Are there any negative votes? Motion passes. Next, we'll move on to awards of contract, Montgomery County Exhibit B. I will make a motion to approve the contract awards, amendments, and renewals for Montgomery County on attached Exhibit B, and to authorize the proper county officials to execute the same, subject to the approval of the county solicitor. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Winder. Is there any board comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. Are there any negative votes? Motion passes. Next, awards of contract for the Southeast PA Regional Task Force, which is Exhibit C. I'll make a motion to approve the contract awards, amendments, and renewals for Southeast PA Regional Task Force on attached Exhibit C, and to authorize the proper county officials to execute the same, subject to the approval of the county solicitor. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Winder. Any board comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. Are there any negative votes? Motion passes. Do we have any closing commissioner comments? All right, I'll announce that our next upcoming meetings is we have our budget public hearing on November 30th, 2023 at 10:30 a.m. and then at 6 p.m. And our next Board of Commissioners meeting is December 14th, 2023. I'll make a motion to adjourn the November 16th, 2023 meeting in the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Winder. Any board comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. Are there any negative votes? Meeting is adjourned. We'll move into salary board. Is the controller joining us virtually?
Yes, hi, I'm here. My video is disabled, but I am here. Hopefully you can hear me.
Okay, good morning, or good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Do we have any public comment on salary board?
Yes, only public comment is David Morgan.
Regarding the salary raise in the commissioners, perhaps that could be tapped to get the wonderful expertise of Liz Ferry, who would be great with managerial skills. She's worked through budgets a lot. She has wonderful personal skills. As you heard in July when she addressed that comment time should be more free for interaction at meetings. And she's, unfortunately, was in the paper after the election happened, at the top of the paper. And she would speak also for equal opportunity of the, considering the preborn children, because this was on a door lately saying that the Democratic Party was endorsing abortion rights, but equal opportunity to live should be considered for our preborn children too. And I was so happy to hear your speech, Mrs. Winder, today for National Adoption Month, which I mentioned last meeting, to consider birth and then considering someone else could be blessed with this child. And so why it's after the election is unfortunate, but I think it's a great speech she did.
Sir, you're a little off topic. This is salary board.
Salary board. So anyway, consider that with 83,000 votes, approximately, Ms. Ferry did wonderfully, and I think she'd be a great asset to the county, and you have this extra amount coming to your salaries as commissioners, that's on salary board. And so I'd like to propose consideration of that, just to think about it. And I've just been very blessed by knowing her, and so she would be just really good for equal opportunity and lots of things in the county. Thank you.
That is all for public comment.
Ms. Brown.
Okay. All right, good afternoon again. Good morning, or good afternoon, members of Salary Board. You should have in front of you the final copy of the Salary Board list. It's a 4-page document dated Wednesday, November 15th, 2023, with a timestamp of 2:11 p.m. All positions have been reviewed and accounted for and are presented for Salary Board consideration.
Is there a motion to approve the November 16th, 2023 Salary Board presentation as given by Assistant Director of Human Resources Megan Brown, and to authorize the proper county officials to execute the same.
I'll second that.
You're
Wait,
moving it.
I'm
You're-
moving.
You're moving
Sorry.
it.
And then,
Controller Sanchez, will you second?
I will second it. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. My only board comment is I know Teresa Harris is listed on this, so I was considering voting no, specifically on her, but since I'm leaving, I guess she couldn't bear to be in the commissioner's office without me. I'm glad that you're remaining with the county and moving over to Health and Human Services. I'm sure you'll enjoy watching these meetings on your computer screen and not doing that, but thank you for all the work that you've done for the county, even prior to coming to the Commissioner's office. Congratulations, and we're glad to have your talents over at Health and Human Services. Though if I were staying, I would have blocked that. So thank you, Ms. Harris.
and I just want to echo Commissioner Lawrence's sentiments. It's been good working with you the last several months. You know, it's fast and furious here and keeping up to date with everything that we need to do. But thank you for your service to our team, and so glad that Health and Human Services is getting a great asset in you. So don't be a stranger.
And Teresa, I also wish you very much success and hope you do well in your new role, and I know you will.
All right. We'll move on to a vote. Are there any negative votes? Motion passes. I will make a motion to adjourn the November 16th, 2023 meeting of the Montgomery County Salary Board. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Winder. Any board comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. Are there any negative votes? Meeting is adjourned. Maybe she's leaving because you're late.